Hello and welcome to today's Linkability webinar, how to transform your profile from ordinary to exceptional for 2023. Thank you so much for joining us. It's so nice to see so many of you here on this live event today. We really appreciate your support. Now, no matter whether you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a thought leader, or a job seeker, this presentation will help you stand out from others in your field. My name's Lynnaire Johnston. I'm the author of Linkability, 4 Powerful Strategies to Maximize Your LinkedIn Success, and the co-author of Business Gold. This is Building Awareness, Authority and Advantage with LinkedIn Company Pages, and it was the world's first book about LinkedIn company pages. I'm also the creator of the Linkability members community for those serious about LinkedIn, and an international LinkedIn strategist and consultant working with individuals and companies to leverage the power of LinkedIn. So I appreciate you joining us today. Please feel free to ask questions while I'm speaking, and I shall answer them at the end. I also invite you to see this as a networking opportunity. There are people here today from all over the world, so click on the networking tab next to the comments and take a look at who you might want to get to know better, and then follow up with them. Now, if you're open to networking with others yourself, then let everyone know in the comments and then they can get in touch with you. My team member, Cher Ferguson, will be moderating the comments today as our official Linkability representative, and her comments will have her name at the top. Now, we have a lot to get through, so why don't we get started? This is what we're going to cover today. The 11 changes to profiles in 2022, the must-haves for any self-respecting profile, the bells and whistles that will make your profile compelling, and new ideas and tips and trends for LinkedIn profiles for 2023. Plus, of course, as I said, time at the end for questions. First, I wish to acknowledge Kevin D. Turner for the wonderful work that he does in keeping track of all of LinkedIn's changes and new features. Already there have been more than 70 in 2022. And as of today, the time we're recording this, we are still 6 weeks out from the end of the year. So Kevin is a very useful person to follow if you want to keep up to date with all the latest changes. Now, to the 11 changes which you can see in this list, we'll talk about each of them in a bit more detail, but roughly they fall into 4 categories. Those affecting the top part of our profile, so that's numbers 1 to 4. Those related to the services page, numbers 5 and 6. Those in the skills area, that's 7 and 8, and those of particular interest to job seekers. So let's start with those affecting the top part of our profiles, and we'll begin with the newest. About this profile has arrived only in the last fortnight, and it's been developed to help us protect ourselves from fake profiles. I've in fact already used it to identify someone wanting to connect with me who I don't think is real. When invited to connect by someone that you don't know, this feature will give you clues as to their authenticity. It tells you when they joined LinkedIn, so newish profiles are a bit of a red flag, when they last updated their profile photo and contact details, and whether they have a verified phone number. This will help you make an informed decision about whether to connect with them. Now, of course, the reverse also applies when people and you invite look at your profile. They'll go to this section and they can see the same information about you. So this means that there might be some housekeeping to do. Your phone number may already be verified. And to check if it is, you can go to your contact info section on your profile. It will tell you there if it's verified. If it's not, then go to the link that you can see there on the screen and in the comments to begin the verification process. The about this profile sits in the more drop-down menu on the same line as the blue connect or follow button in your profile introduction section. Here's the one, I thought you might be interested in seeing this, that I said no to. I rejected this person based on the information that I saw about them in this section. This lady only joined very recently. There's no actual contact information on her profile, I checked, and there's no verified email or phone number. Now, we can't verify emails ourselves at the moment. Only very few companies are allowing this, I understand, but it is coming a bit more widely later on, I hope. And the photo, I didn't like the photo either. I thought that it wasn't particularly professional, and so it was a no from me. Right, the next thing, moving on to profile videos. Now, this replaces what we knew as the cover story before, and it can be up to 30 seconds long. It sits right behind your profile photo, and the first 3 seconds of it will play when someone first visits your profile. And to see the whole thing, they have to click on your photo to open it. And then the update that we've got is a bit of a new change, because it allows us to message someone directly from their profile video, which I think is a great idea. Make sure when you're recording yours that you add captions, because people do watch with the sound off, although to me this particular feature is better with the sound on, because you will like to hear the people as well as see them. And my suggestion is that you record this in portrait mode, as you can see I've done on this one, because if you do it in landscape, you're going to look very tiny indeed. Number 3, adding a website hyperlink. So then, this new feature is unfortunately only for those who have creator mode switched on. Now, I'm going to be talking a bit about creator shortly, but adding a website link lets you add a live web page right there in the introduction section of your profile, as you can see here on mine. Now, as you may know, most links on LinkedIn are not live unless they're being looked at from iOS devices. So this is quite a step forward for LinkedIn. You can choose up to 30 characters of display text. So that's what you can see there in blue. So people don't have to look at the actual URL. That's the www bit. Clicking on the text will then take people to the page that you have nominated directly, making it very nice and easy. Number 4, adding a newsletter to the featured section. Now, I like this. The ability to assign, oops, where am I got? I've got a bit lost on this one. So the idea of this is that you will be able to add your newsletter directly onto the featured section, which, as you know, sits right at the top of your profile. If you have creator mode on, it sits right underneath your activity. And if it is you don't, then featured will sit under your about section. Now, I like this because it makes it easy for people to subscribe to your newsletter. It's right there front and center, and people can easily find it, which I think is just great. So adding a newsletter to your featured section is number 4. Adding a company affiliation or company page affiliation is in the services section of your profile if you have this enabled, and if you are selling B2B, it is my sincerest wish that you do this, because I think it has a lot of excellent features involved in it, and I'll talk a bit more about those a little later. But adding your company page affiliation here allows you to link your company page directly to your profile. It's not available for everybody, it seems, but for a lot of people it is. So you just go in there where it says link an affiliated company. All you have to do is click the buttons and it will connect immediately to your company page. Also in the services section is the addition this year of new media formats. Previously, we only had images. Now we can add links and PDFs. So we can add up to 8 pieces of media here, which I think gives us that whole section a nice rounded feel. I do need to point out that the more you add, you can add up to 8, but the more you add, the smaller these thumbnails down the bottom here become, which is not what you want. You want it to be nice and big. So on mine, we've just kept it to 4. Assigning skills to roles is something that I think is a great idea. This means that now you can show your skills right here in each of the jobs or roles you have in your experience section. You can see it sits right up there whether people can see the whole of your text or not. So it is really highly visible. It's really easy to add these directly from the skills section. You just go down there and look at each skill individually and tick on the role that it applies to for you. Magically, it will show up here. Adding a product as a skill is something we haven't seen a great deal of, and it means it's related to company pages and the product pages associated with company pages. Now, these are hard to get approved by LinkedIn, and they have to be approved by LinkedIn to be visible. We've been waiting for approval on ours for some months and have just given up. So we expect that this will show up a bit more once there are more product pages available. But at the moment, this is just on people's wish lists. Accessibility titles. LinkedIn is making LinkedIn more accessible for people who have a range of disabilities. And this is a new feature that allows you, if you work in the accessibility field, to be able to add some extra details into your experience section. This image from Kevin Turner shows you a couple of screens that it uses when you have this turned on or when you decide to use it. But I think that for the majority of us, it won't probably apply. Demonstrating soft skills. This is in beta testing, but has been widely rolled out, don't ask me. And what it does, it allows you to be able to put together little videos of your skills, your transferable skills that you want then to make available or to present to recruiters. Now, I like this idea, and because I think the more that we have on our profiles that shows people what we're capable of, the better. So if you have this feature, when you go to the skills section, it will be sitting right there for you to be able to try and use. So it picks up the various things that are in your profile that it thinks you are skilled at, and then it gives you the opportunity to create a video that people can then look at. So I like that idea. And number 11 is adding a career break. Now, I like this one too, because I don't know about you, but most of our careers aren't exactly linear. and we've often wandered about doing various other bits and pieces over the years, and so we may not want to have everything that we've done on our profile all the time. There are 13 different career break types that you can nominate from this list that you can see here on the screen. So if you have a break in your career and you want to add in something that shows what you've been doing, then this is a really good way to do so. But my advice would be that where possible, you choose one of the positive ones. So that might be, for instance, a professional development, or it might be voluntary work. Make it as close to the truth as possible, of course, but do use one of those really positive ones. So those are the 11 new profile features for 2022. Let's move on now to what we absolutely must have on all of our profiles. These are the main elements that we're going to cover today, and we're going to go through each one of these one by one, starting with banners. Having an eye-catching banner and that is also informative is critical. Without one, your audience, you could be instantly dismissed as not being current. So it's kind of related to LinkedIn best practice, if you like. But there's no excuse for not having one. Canva does templates, which you can access absolutely free and tailor to your own colors. These are 3 that we've created recently for our clients, and what we do with them is we aim to add their logos, a tagline, or some element that explains what it is that they do. And in the lower one, you can see there's a round red circle in the lower left, just in here. That gives you a good indication of where the profile photo is going to sit, because don't forget that your profile photo will sit over the bottom left-hand side of it. How much room it takes up depends on whether the person viewing it is on a mobile app or on desktop. But don't put any information here that is going to be hidden by your profile photo. Now, profile photo itself is essential. Everybody wants to know who they're looking at, who they're dealing with, and they will be much more likely to connect with you if you have a nice photo, and they won't interact with you if they can't see you. So the key to a good profile photo is a head and shoulders close up, looking directly at the camera. And with a nice big smile on your face. I think what you want to do is to look warm and friendly and professional and approachable. The key to a good profile photo is to make sure that you're close enough and that you don't have any conflicting backgrounds or distracting background. So photos that were taken at weddings, on a fishing trip, or one of your travel photos probably won't be appropriate, but something like this which are professional photos in the main here, look really good on LinkedIn, because your profile photo follows you around the platform. Also following you around your platform is the headline. Now, not all of it is going to display, however, depending on where people are looking at it from. So the first few words are the most important. A good rule of thumb in your headline is to say what you do, who you help, or how you serve, how you do that, and the results that people can expect. Now, you've got 220 characters for this, so that's a reasonable space in which to get your message across. You're allowed to add emojis too, although they can display a bit strangely on some devices, so just be aware of that. Your contact info section has a lot more to it than you might be aware of. So let's just go through it. When someone visits your profile and clicks on the contact info at the top, they now see your verification. This is part of that new about your profile section I told you about earlier. Given that the increase in fake profiles is on the rise, then this is an excellent way to see who's legit and who isn't. Your LinkedIn profile URL is next, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, followed by your website. Now you can see here that there are 3 on mine, and there's display text right next to the URL itself, telling you what it is that people are going to see when they go there. Now, unfortunately, LinkedIn has changed this, and the display text is no longer offered. So it's still sitting there for me, but if you try to edit this or you try to edit, it simply won't allow you to do so. Instead, the options are personal, company, blog, RSS feed, portfolio, and other. Not terribly wonderful, in my opinion. However, your phone number is self-explanatory there, and I showed you earlier how to get yours verified. Now the address. If you're like me and you don't have an office where people come to, then use this space for something else instead. I've used it for listing some of my services, and you can get a good amount in here because, again, it's 220 characters long. And underneath is your email address, and then when you connected with the person who's looking at your profile. Now, it's a very good idea, really, to have all of this filled out as much as you possibly can. Now, the featured section. I love the featured section. I like its flexibility, the different options it has, and the visual punch that it offers. And if you have creator mode on, as I said earlier, it sits right at the top. So not everything displays brilliantly, of course, but usually there's a workaround for that. Maybe in uploading an image instead of a link if it doesn't display properly. You're allowed to pin posts here, as you can see on this example, and add your newsletter, as you saw before, external links, which usually pull through the associated pages, images, and videos. So this means that you can put almost anything in here. We add our events on ours, our ebooks, and a link to the page where all our various resources can be found. And in this example here, you can see that there's an Amazon page for the book, and there are 2 posts. In this example, there are 2 recent posts and an article. Now, I've since removed the article because it was written at the beginning of the year, but it's a good example of the perils of uploading content to this section and forgetting to periodically check it for currency. If you write articles, do put them in here because, as you will well know, they don't get a great deal of visibility, if any, in the news feed. And in this example, the Members Gold Industry Award is front and centre. The space has also been used to advertise a current vacancy. Again, when including time-sensitive material, check that it's still valid. In this case, it is. One of the many things that I like about the section of profiles is that you can easily change the order of the items, add and remove them, and keep it fresh for those who visit your profile regularly. Moving on now to the About section. The About section is where you get to tell your story about your professional life in your own words, and you have 2,600 characters for this. So that's plenty of room to cover all the important aspects of what you do, your skills, and your experience. A good rule of thumb here is to include who you are, what you do, who you help, how, and the results, a bit like the banner, but in a lot more detail. Talk about your career highlights, but make sure you sound as if you're talking with a colleague. So you want to be friendly yet professional. Write in the first person, so that's using I, rather than in the third person, so that's she or he, she, or they. This is much harder than it sounds, and so if you need a hand with any of this, do get in touch. We write profiles for clients all the time and know how difficult this can be for people. You can use full sentences, bullet points, or a mix of both in your about, but if you're using full sentences, do keep them short, and the paragraph short too. In fact, this is good advice for any writing that you do on LinkedIn. You might want to add something in here that's personal about yourself, about your values maybe, or what you support, where your interests lie outside work perhaps. And the best way to do that, to be memorable, is to be super specific. So instead of saying that you enjoy running, perhaps say that you're training for the New York Marathon or something equally interesting that people will remember you for. The first 4 lines of what you write will display, but the length of those lines differs between desktop and mobile. So again, make sure that you put what's the most important the information you want people to know right at the beginning. End on a call to action. That might be visit a website, get in touch with you, or an offer of some kind, such as a free consultation, which is quite common. Now, your about will display either directly below your highlight section, which incidentally you can't see on your own profile because it varies depending on who's looking at it, or it will display below your activity section in 5th spot if you have creator mode turned on. Now, let's have a look at your experience section. This is also a critical component of your profile. It's where you list your previous and current roles, as I'm sure you're all aware. It's important to fill this out completely. Don't just add the dates, the title, and leave it. That sends all the wrong messages to people visiting your profile and tells them nothing about you. But keep in mind, this is your profile. If you don't want to list a job, don't. I've worked for a lot of not-for-profits in my time, but you won't see any of those listed on my profile because it's not work that I do anymore, and I don't want to encourage people who are still looking for services like that from people like me to inquire. But don't forget to add your skills, as I've mentioned, and connect to the correct company page. Check that you've got the correct one by actually going to the page first and then copying the name. You have no idea how many profiles we see that have the incorrect company name attached, and of course then the wrong logo comes through. So you can tell if it's the right one by the logo. Now, still on the experience section, let's look at this from the point of view of your own business, if you own your own business or a consultancy. My suggestion here is to break down what you do into sections, such as the services that you offer. I have sections about my books, my profile writing, my LinkedIn marketing service, my members community, etc. And you want people to see at a glance the variety of services or products that you offer or the skills that you have. And because each section gives you 2,000 characters, it's an ideal opportunity to talk about what you do and all the different things that you do, because it's much better than company pages. So it's a great opportunity to be able to use this section really, really well. Also add media to this section because that breaks up the roles and gives you some nice visual interest. And I suggest that you think laterally about your experience and add testimonials. This is an ideal place for those of you who might be in receipt of very nice emails from people saying nice things about you, but who won't provide you with a formal recommendation. You can use those in this section. If you're an employee, you can also do the same if you're a senior manager, by which I mean break down your current role into sections. You can break it down into the different skill sets that you have, for example, such as leadership or management, mentoring, governance, whatever it is that applies to you. So then your current role has a lot of different information about you in it. And the higher up the corporate ladder you are, the more important this is, because as I understand it, those jobs tend to turn over every 3 years. And if you're going to be in the market for a new role next year, making sure that you have all of this on your LinkedIn profile before you go on the job market is a really good way to do it. Now, if you are in other levels in a company, the basics still apply. Complete every section, connect to the correct company page, and add your skills plus media. At the very least, add the company website to show that you're a team player. Now, education. This can be a bit tricky for those people who don't have tertiary qualifications. And if you don't have a degree or a diploma or any kind of qualifications, there are several things that you can do instead. And here in this example, you can see a couple of them. So one at the top is a link to something that you might want to share with your profile visitors. In my case, it's my newsletter. And now the reason that this is here is so that the app, so that what happens is this, is that it displays at the top of my profile. Let me show you that. No, it's disappeared on me. I haven't got that one, obviously. It shows at the top of my profile, just this piece in here, the subscribe to my newsletter. And then people can come, when I click on it, it comes back to here, and you can see that there's the link. Now, this again is not live, but people can copy and paste it if they're interested in doing that. Now, a second thing that you can do is if you don't have formal qualifications, is you can add in any professional development courses that you might have done. Most of us have done something over our lives, and it could be all kinds of things, really. It could even be a first aid course, but it gives you the opportunity to add something into here. Now, if you've just got that kind of thing showing here, you may not want to add it to the top part of your profile, but it can still then give you an education section, which is, as I say, something that is important on LinkedIn. Moving on now to your skills and endorsements. We're getting quite a long way down your profile here, and fewer people will really be seeing any of this. But nonetheless, those people who are interested in doing business with you will in fact have a look at all of this. So they are important. Make sure that you have your endorsements turned on, and you do that in the settings menus, but it's usually on by default. Encourage people to endorse you. A good way to do that, of course, is to give them endorsements in return. You can have up to 50 skills listed on your profile, but my recommendation is this. Go for fewer skills and higher endorsement numbers because they show. You can see how many endorsements people have on their profile. Make sure that your top 3 are pinned to the top of the section so that people will see those first. That's where they're most visible. And add them to your experience section, as I talked about earlier. Now, this is how your skills display when someone visits your profile. As you can see, those are the top 3 skills. And what happens here is that the number of endorsements is clearly visible, as are any mutual connections that you have who have endorsed you. So the more advanced in your career you are, the more endorsements you need to have. Similar, but not the same, recommendations. Now, for many people, this is right at the bottom of their profiles, which does not make it the least important. Rather, recommendations are one of the most important, and never underestimate the positive influence of social proof, especially where there might be mutual connections who can vouch for you. Again, think laterally, not just people you've worked for. Think about you've worked with, they're an ideal candidate for mutual recommendations. You give them one and they give you one. In fact, giving recommendations is a great way to get your profile and your profile photo and your headline onto others' profiles, because it's nice extra promotion for you. So why would you not? People can see how many recommendations that you have right at the very bottom when they visit your profile. And the first three, so that's the ones you received most recently, will display. And you can see in this example quite clearly that the name, photo, headline, and the first few lines of the recommendation there are visible. So let us move on from the must-haves to the bells and whistles. Having these will help you stand out from your competitors. And there are some things that if you've been on LinkedIn for a while, you might not know about or know quite how to work and decide that you want to add. And at the end, I've got a few out-of-the-box weird ideas for you to consider. The name pronunciation feature is great for those of you who, like me, have an unusual name. And if you have problems with people knowing how to pronounce it correctly, then this is the feature for you. You can record up to 10 seconds of audio in the name pronunciation feature, and you do so on the mobile, not the desktop, as you can see here in this image, but you can listen to it on any device. This sits right after your name in the introduction section of your profile. So at the very, very, very top, and it's indicated by a little speaker if you have this enabled. So to access the name pronunciation feature, go to the editing pen on your profile in the app and scroll down to where it says name pronunciation. And you can set this to whether you want everybody to be able to see it or just your connections. I advise setting it to everyone. The services page. Now, for most people, this isn't something that they've heard about or really had much to do with, but it sits right at the top of your profile. It sits at the bottom at the top of your profile, if that makes sense. It sits at the bottom of the introduction section of your profile in that box. So I believe that it's worth paying attention to because it does a lot of things. Let me show a few of them. The first is that people can request a proposal from you. Now, I've not seen this a lot in use yet, but it's a good thing to make available to people. Next is a 500-word about section. So it's a bit of a mini about, which gives you just enough space to summarize what it is that you do. After that come the services that you provide. Unfortunately, you can only choose from the list that LinkedIn provides, and it's unbelievably narrow, but you can have up to 10 of them. So to get around that, the fact that they are also narrow, think laterally about what services you do provide and see if there's any way that you can shoehorn them into this, because I really do think that these are quite important. My hope is that LinkedIn will increase the number of these that they provide for different kinds of roles. Now, as I mentioned before, you can affiliate a company to this section and have media, but to me, the most useful part of the services page is the 5-star reviews. Do not confuse these with recommendations because they are the same but different. And with reviews, they are ranked from 1 to 5 stars, like you would see on other social media platforms. Also, with reviews, you have to invite someone to review you. They can't just write one for you and have it go up. Recommendations, people can do them unsolicited for you, although you do get a choice about whether to accept them. With these, if you've invited someone and they've reviewed you and you don't like it, you have no choice but to ask them to take it down because you cannot do that yourself. So my advice on this one, if you are asking people to review you and you want a 5-star review, tell them. Make sure you do it in a way that is warm and friendly and inviting, and check that they've agreed to give you 5 stars before sending the invite. Otherwise, once it's there, it's there. What are we up to? We are up to the pronouns. Oh, yes. Now, pronouns are something that have arrived on the scene relatively recently, last year, I think. And with them, LinkedIn is demonstrating its gender openness. It's working quite hard in this area. And so this is a new opportunity, the adding of pronouns after our names. You've probably seen it on some people's profiles. Now, the options are she, her, he, him, they, them, or a custom one that you can write yourself. I quite like that idea. The one I like best of these that I've seen is one that says, any polite address, fine. That gives a nod to the issue without being tied to the other options specifically. Now, accomplishments. This is no longer called accomplishments. In fact, it doesn't seem to have a name at all anymore because it has all seemed to be broken up into separate sections. But there are 9 additional sections which were previously collectively known as accomplishments. So if you choose to use them, they mostly display after your recommendations, except for volunteer experience. So when you use that, it sits between your education and your skills. You can link to organisations' pages here to bring through a logo and add a bit of detail about what you do or have done for some of these volunteer causes. I like to include these where possible because it demonstrates community spirit if you have done community work. Now, each of these sections that you can see here on the screen can be accessed from the drop-down menu under Add Profile section in the intro part of your profile. In some, such as publications, you can add quite a bit more detail. You can tag other people, you can add some images and put in a link to your publications as well. But for most, the information that you can add is very limited. Mostly these are, as I say, limited, but where you can, do use them. Your unique URL. When you first set up your LinkedIn account, you are given a URL that looks like the top image with random numbers and letters. But for a professional looking profile, you want one that looks like the one at the bottom. If you have an unusual name like me, it's not difficult to secure your own name at the back end of the LinkedIn link, but for many people, of course, that's not possible. So if that unfortunately is you, then be creative. Try variations of your name, such as 001 at the end or a hyphen between your names. Even your middle initial might give it to you. Perhaps your country, if all the usual variations are taken. Your URL shows up in a number of places, so make yours look like you. Take yours seriously. I'm not sure that you will know this, but fewer than 4% of LinkedIn's 870 plus million members do not create content on the platform. So creator mode is what LinkedIn has developed to encourage those who don't to do, and those of us who already create content to create more. Now, to sweeten the deal, they have added a number of features that are available only to those who have creator turned on. You do that from your dashboard, by the way. It also makes some changes to your profile when you do turn it on, and these include displaying your follower number in the introduction section of your profile, and changing the order of your sections, which I have mentioned. So the featured section moves up to number 3rd spot. That's right behind the highlight section, with activity next, and then your about section. So it drops right down. And as I mentioned, you also get a live link in your intro. Now, you can choose up to 5 hashtags too to go along with all of this on subjects that you post about. And when you use them in your posts, they are said to help with visibility and reach. You'll get access to LinkedIn Lives and newsletters as well. Yay. All in all, this makes this a really good feature for people who are creating posts on a regular basis. But if you only have a small network or you don't post very often, my advice is to leave this switched off. And now let's look at some new ideas, some tips, trends, and things that I've been giving a bit of thought to over the last little while. Now, I'm suggesting that with your LinkedIn profile that you think a bit outside the square. I'm a bit of a maverick when it comes to things like this, and so I tend to try different things, use sections in different ways than might be otherwise expected. And so I do things that I have to, must say, that I think are a little bit different. So let me tell you about a couple of ideas that that I've had. So the first one is to be innovative in your thinking around LinkedIn. And I tend, as an example, to use the experience section as a mini website. You might have worked this out for yourself, where I would have individual pages on my website for different services. On my profile, I have different sections for them, as I've mentioned. But one I've just added is my events. Now, the problem with holding events from your personal profile is there's no designated URL or easy way for people to see what's coming up except via your posts, which, of course, as we know, will drop down the feed. And so there's no really easy way to market them because there's no URL for them. Company pages, unlike, are different, and they do have a separate section for events with its own URL. But unfortunately, you get better results from running events on company pages than you do. You get better results from running events on your profile than you do from company pages. So if we can find a way around that problem of not being able to have events visible on our profiles, I think that's a really good thing to do. Now, I'm trying to do that by adding an events section. So in the text, I've added each of the 3 different kinds of events that I run. So that's these webinars, LinkedIn Lives, where I have a guest, and then my audio events. And I've just talked about when we do those. And then I've included a link where people can go to find out more. Now, I'm going to add to this section because we often get some really nice comments from people about our events. And so I'm going to add some of those into my event section just to give it a bit more heft and to encourage people to come along and to take part. So innovative thinking is my first thought for my thinking as a thought for new ideas for LinkedIn. My next idea was to split out sections. Now, with the way that LinkedIn is currently set up, each of your sections, or most of them anyway, have their own separate URL. Now, you may not know this, but your experience section and your recommendations, as you can see here, all have different URLs so that you can market those as separate sections and send that URL to people. Now, in terms of the recommendations, as you can see here, this is what my recommendations looks like, or the top part of it anyway, when looked at from somebody else's profile. What it does do is it shows in one great big long document all the recommendations that I have. Now, I know that there's a way to be able to turn that into a shareable document, a PDF of some kind, and it probably has a proper name. It's when they're very long and thin, like an infographic. I haven't done that yet, but I'm thinking about doing that. Then I can put all of them into one document and people can scroll down through them and easily have a look at them and see who they might know, who might have recommended me. So if you know how to do that, maybe you'd like to share that with us in the comments, because I think that might be a really good way to do it. But if, like me, that's a bit beyond you, then just split out the section of with the URL and just put that into someone that you are messaging, and that could well be enough. Then they can just go to the URL and have a look at that for themselves. You can do this, of course, with other sections. You can do this with your experience section, and you can also do it with your education. Those are the other two that I definitely know about. Reframing your profile photo. Now, LinkedIn already allows you to add a couple of frame options, hiring or open to work, but that's a bit limited, isn't it? But you can be way more adventurous than that. If you go to the link on the screen, you'll see that takes you to a site where you can write your own unique wording and choose colors that match your brand. Now, I love this, as you may be able to tell, and I've had this on my profile for a few weeks now, and I've seen that this is beginning to show up on quite a few profiles from other people who are in my industry, so clearly it's a good thing to be doing. Be a giver. Now, I'm known as someone who shares and gives a lot of information about LinkedIn. And this webinar is a good example of that. But I also do it on my profile. And you can see here, I do it right in my banner, where I offer a free ebook about creating profiles. It's free to download. I don't hide it behind an email paywall, because for me, that's not free if people do that. But if you're keen to grow your email list, that's something you might want to add in. It's quite common. People do it all the time. Now, I direct people to my featured section where they can download this ebook, but they have to come into my profile to do that. So the aim with this is to hope they'll have a look around while they're there and to see what else they might find that is of interest to them. Now, I strongly believe that being a giver and having a giving mindset is the way to succeed on LinkedIn. And I was recently taken with a book exactly about this. Let me show you that. It's called The Go Giver, by Bob Berg and John David Mann. In fact, there's a whole series of them, and which I'm working my way through currently. So I've invited Bob Berg, who's one of the co-authors, to join me in a couple of weeks for a LinkedIn Live to talk about giving on LinkedIn. Now, I'm thrilled he said yes, because his books are so easy to read and the message is just so powerful. I'm currently reading this guy here. This is the Go Giver Leader. Can you see that? And then I'll move on to the Go Giver Influencer. I've invested in quite a few of his books, and there's two more after that. Now, I find that giving is endlessly rewarding on LinkedIn, although it has its downsides, of course, like everything. So I want to ask Bob about those too. And if this is something that you're interested in, then please do join Bob and I on November the 24th right here on LinkedIn. And there are details in the link in the comments. Now, to sum up what I've just been talking about today, I think it's important to become familiar with the new features that are offered by LinkedIn. This helps us to remain relevant, our profiles to look up to speed and best practice. Not all of the new features will be relevant to you, and I think I've shown you some that probably are not, and just adopt those that do work for you. We should all be revising and updating our profiles for 2023, which is lamentably close. So do maybe spend some time over the next few weeks before the new year gets underway to have a good look at your profile, see what might be out of date, and check every single link, because quite often you'll find that your LinkedIn links might have expired. And the last thing is to be innovative. I think that being innovative and unique makes you stand out from other people. And with 870 plus million members on LinkedIn, you are going to need to be different in some way. And it helps to be visible and for you to reach the people who are going to be able to help you in your career if you are innovative and unique. I'd love to hear some of your ideas actually for how you're going to do that. Now, if you are not following me or connected to me, please redress that straight away. Let me know that you have been on today's webinar so that I can say hello to you. Also follow our Linkability company page, where we put up quite a lot of really good information about LinkedIn on a regular basis. And if you are serious about LinkedIn, then please do take the opportunity to check out our Linkability's members community. There you'll find both like-minded people to help you on your journey and a wealth of information about LinkedIn that I am constantly updating. You can try it for 7 days absolutely free without being harassed by email, I'd just like to add. And if you like it, then you can stay with us. If not, then that's fine. We're glad you tried it out. Then if you'd like to do that, then please go to the link that you can see on the screen, because we would love to have you with us. And now then, let us go and see whether there are any questions that people have wanted to ask. And so I'll just zip over here and have a look and see what we have got. So Vivi has had problems in uploading profile videos. It also goes sideways. Oh heavens, okay. Nobody could help me to fix this so far. Any advice? It might be the way that you have recorded it, Vivi. And if you do it in portrait, which is this way, long and thin, rather than that way, it might help you do it. Now, here's another idea for you. When you are recording your video, if you're doing it on your phone, do it in square mode, then it won't matter. Well, hopefully it won't matter, because it will always show with you with in the right position. Try the square 1-to-1 ratio. I think that's what it's under in the settings on phones. See if that helps. And if anybody else has got any ideas, other ideas that will help Vivi, then please do let us know. Now, Karina, is it recommended we have creator mode turned on? Now, hopefully I have answered this, but here it is again. If you have a small network and you're not creating content regularly, don't switch it on. But everybody else, absolutely do, because using it gives you a lot of advantages, but it just really does show up some deficiencies if you don't, if you're not creating content regularly and you don't have a reasonable size network. Someone who we don't know, hello, says, how can we create links to use logos if the company we worked for changed name or no longer exists? Oh, you have no idea how many times I've come across this one. And unfortunately, the answer is you can't. The only thing that you can do is connect to the current company name and then put it into your description that it used to be known as something else. The only other option is to leave that default and blank. I'm sorry I haven't got better news for you on that one, but currently there is no better way to do that, because the logos are directly connected to the company page, the existing company page. Isn't that a pity? Andy is asking, how do you suggest handling a situation where someone has intentionally or accidentally attached themselves to your company page? Or I've had this too, as an employee where they aren't or they weren't. Now, this does happen regularly. Again, you'd be surprised. It's happened to us too. And what's happened is that people haven't checked that they are connected to the correct company page. This is a perennial problem for LinkedIn because anybody can say they can work for Microsoft or Amazon or Google. All you have to do is just to bring across the logo and attach yourself to the company page. So that is something that for a long, long time, LinkedIn members have asked LinkedIn to try to fix. It hasn't been at this point. So what are your alternatives? The way we've dealt with this is to direct message the person who isn't the employee or wasn't the employee and ask them to take it down. Now, usually they will do that because really they don't want to be associated with a company that isn't their current one, because it's not in their best interest to do that. Now, of course, that may not be possible. You might not be able to reach the person. They may not respond. In fact, they're unlikely to respond. All you want them to do is to take themselves off your company page. So a direct message, politely written, is the best way to go on that one, Andy, and we found that that's worked quite well for us. So, Nicoletta Savina. Hello, Nicoletta Savina. You've just connected with me today. It was very nice to talk with you earlier this morning. All new features are available on regular or only on premium. All of them are available free. Isn't that wonderful? None of the things I've been talking about today are premium only features. You will be very pleased to know. In fact, I do have premium, but I don't see that there is a huge benefit in that, or certainly in the things that I use. I think premium allows me to access LinkedIn Learning, but apart from that, there's not really anything else that makes it at all useful for me. And it's expensive, which is unfortunate, really. So that does seem a bit of a shame. Now then, somebody above that, I just missed this one when I was looking down the list. Let me just go back to it, see if I can bring it up. Can I see who it is that has asked this question? Heidi. Hello, Heidi. Is it still true that headline has 25 times the weight of anything else on LinkedIn? I can't be sure about the accuracy of the percentage, but what I can tell you is this, that your headline follows you around your profile everywhere you go. So if somebody's visiting your profile, sees you on an event like this, sees you in the comments, sees you anywhere, in the networking pages anywhere, then your headline is going to show up. So simply because of its visibility, it will have that huge weight factor that you are talking about. And it's so very, very important, because that, along with your photo, is how people will identify you when they see you on the platform. So yeah, it's really, really super important. All right. So, and one more, I did miss that one. Where's that one gone? Can I have that one back? It was to do with, no, that was probably my fault, I think. Sometimes I've lost them. Was there one? No. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Thank you so much for being here today. Let me just have a quick look and see if I can see that on my screen. Just a second. I'm just going to bring this up full screen and then I might be able to read that. It is to do with recommendations. How about old recommendations on a PDF scanned? It depends on the quality, and I would imagine that you would need, if you were going to be doing that, to add that as media to your roles. You certainly could. There's no reason why you couldn't do that. It mightn't jump out, as you say, but it is real. So yes, you could do that. If the quality of the scan is good and it looks nice, then my recommendation is yes, that you should indeed absolutely do that. All right then, so I think that we might leave it there for today. And it has been a much longer event than I had planned. So I do apologize. And I should really have said at the start that because this is such a comprehensive webinar, it might go on a bit longer than for usual. But it's such an important topic. I didn't want to leave anything important out. So please join us again. There's my LinkedIn with Lynnaire audio room next Thursday evening, followed a week after by the LinkedIn Live with Bob Berg. And all our events are available from my profile in the featured section there. There's an image and a link to where you'll find them. So thank you so much for being here today. All the team and I appreciate your support. You make it worth all the effort. So we'll see you next time. Bye for now.